All right. Well, we want to welcome Nichole Harrop to the show today.
Thank you. I'm
Oh, no
excited to be here.
problem. Yeah, glad you're here. We're excited to learn from you about how to kind of expand our network as far as that goes, because you have what, about 7 years experience, a little bit more maybe?
Yeah, 7 years of leadership
Okay,
experience in a bunch of different positions and companies. But yeah,
gotcha. Okay, awesome. So, what brought you into liking to talk about social media or networking in general? Not necessarily social media, but just networking.
sure. So a big part of what has helped lead me into all sorts of different positions in different companies has been my ability to network and really build relationships with different people
Okay.
within my company as well as outside of my companies to provide me further opportunities. So yeah, I just think that networking is so important, and if you're doing it the right way, it is gonna help expand that so much better and feel good on both parties and not feel kind of like the office politics that I get a
Mhm.
lot.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, in networking in any form of life really is important. Just being able to make those connections and talk with people. So I'm excited to kind of get to know how to do it better, I guess, so we can always improve. And so I guess when you're going to a client or to an individual to help them expand their network or learn about how to network better, what's kind of the first thing you want to either look at in their company
Mhm.
or kind of hit on with them?
Sure. Yeah, with my clients, so I focus mostly with women.
Okay.
I'm a women's leadership coach. I've been working to transition out of the corporate world
Mhm.
into leadership coaching full time and have been loving that journey in the past year. But the biggest thing that I help just anyone in general with who are looking to expand their network is determining what their goal is in
Okay.
general. So, are they looking to expand their network because they want to have more opportunities?
Mhm.
Do they want to expand their network because they want to learn specific topics or get mentors in certain areas? So, definitely sitting down with them, figuring out what they are looking for first and foremost, because I think everyone's like, oh, I need to expand my network. They go to LinkedIn, they
Yeah,
just start connecting with everyone, and that doesn't really get you anywhere. So it's kind of
gotcha.
having that purpose behind it.
Okay. So finding that purpose. So say instead of just blind cold call, hey, we're
Mhm.
connecting, like what would be kind of your advice on starting out? You obviously find the goal. So say the goal is just kind of starting a network in general with maybe a new business. Um,
Mhm.
where do you think people should start as far as that goes?
Yeah, so I give a lot of advice to start within your current network and
Okay.
see how they can help you expand.
Hmm.
I'm really big on that, and that's why relationship building is such a key part of my coaching. Is when you're building relationships within your network, spending time. It's not about the quantity of people in your network; it's the quality of people in your network. So if you are starting from who you already know and how can they connect you with additional people.
Okay.
So if you are expanding a business, you're saying, hey, to my current network, I am looking for these specific things. If you know someone who could help me, I'd love to, chat with you more. Or if you're having conversations with one of the people in your network, just in general, and something gets brought up, you can ask, hey, would you mind introducing me to so and so who you had mentioned in our conversation? I think that they could be really helpful in growing my business or whatever your goal is.
Okay. Awesome. So reaching out, being kind of intentional and not just kind of throwing the dart at the board kind of thing. To
Definitely,
find
yeah.
okay.
Intentional, yeah, is the biggest thing. And really it can come very naturally and flow really well when you
Right.
are building those relationships with your network. And again, having that intention behind it kind of helps drive the conversation in the right direction.
Cool. So I know like I think starting out it seems to be obviously the hardest just because you have such a big world to choose from and so many people out there, especially with social media, makes that big world seem a little bit smaller. But does it matter? I know you said quality, obviously, and we want quality, but those big names or those big influencers, like from your perspective, how important is it to get like a quote unquote big influencer within your network? Is that something we should target first, or something that just kind of comes as we go?
I don't think it hurts to follow some of those bigger named people.
Hmm.
I myself follow all sorts of different people who I may never connect with in
Yeah.
person, or who may never reply to my comment if
Hmm.
I'm, posting on LinkedIn or something. But I love seeing that what they're sharing, what they're posting as far as getting inspiration from them, and then who is following them. So they may have other connections who might benefit you better, who maybe aren't as big of a fish, but can still help lead you in the right direction. So you
Okay.
can get even more people in your network who are in alignment for what you're looking for.
Cool. So kind of, and I think it's great now. Social media kind of opens up those possibilities of those influencers, those bigger name people that we might not personally be able to connect with, but be able to see and learn from still. And then, like you said, kind of branch off of who follows them and kind of find those connections that way. I think social media, from my perspective at least, is really beneficial in that regard. Is that the same with your perspective, or?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's, again, so many ways to connect with
Mhm.
new people with social media. It's really great in figuring out, what platform is going to work best for you, because maybe it's not LinkedIn if you're not necessarily in the business world. Maybe if
Right.
you're more creative, it might be Instagram, sometimes Facebook. So definitely just depending on where exactly you're looking to
Looking for.
find those connections, they're definitely out there.
That's awesome. So starting out, compared to you kind of already have a solid network, but you're just trying to up it even more, does that change how you should go about networking at all based on where you are or where you're starting?
Not necessarily. Networking in general, I think it's also trying to find out how you can serve other people around
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So it's giving out what you are also trying to find in return. So if you are able to provide, a free training on something,
Mm,
or whatever you can offer to your network, is always a great way to, provide value, because when you're providing value, people are going to look out for you when there are other opportunities. So that's been huge for me within my network and in different companies that I've built different leadership positions in, is providing proactive assistance and coming from a place of service, and how can I help all these other people, and then in return people are seeing that and able
mm,
to refer me to other people who I may have never even met, and that's how I've gotten other promotions, other job offers. And I feel like I'm not doing that much work because I'm just
yeah.
offering what I'm good at.
Right. No, that's awesome. And I think it was a great point you mentioned about serving others, and how that's such a huge part of like leadership just in general. I know I went to the Global Leadership Summit this year, and Patrick Lencioni spoke, and he had mentioned like how he's tired of hearing servant leadership, only because that's the only kind of leadership there should be is servant leadership. And so you bringing up kind of just hits that home a little bit more, how important it is to serve others and bring that benefit to them when we're networking, having some sort of something they can take away and use. So I think that's a big point from it. um,
Definitely.
yeah.
I agree.
So Patrick Lencioni, of course, is a big influencer, so something we can learn from for sure. um, so with network building, if you have a smaller network, it's still possible to accomplish whatever your goal is, right? Like you said, quality over quantity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with utilizing your network however you can, and
Mhm.
figuring out who can help point you in the right direction. And it's a matter of asking the right questions. So sometimes you'll see a post that says, I'm looking for this, but it's really vague. And
Okay.
so they're not going to get a lot of comments or interaction because it doesn't have a lot of information. So the more specific you can be, you may not get as many responses,
Mhm.
but the people who know exactly what you need and exactly what you're looking for can help point you in the right direction.
Okay. So being specific on what you're looking for definitely makes it a little bit easier to find the right people in your network or to add them.
Exactly, and if
Okay.
you're looking for something to start off maybe as even like a mentor relationship,
Mm.
so say you are wanting to expand on something you're already good at, but you wanna learn more, you can always reach out to your network and say, "Hey, I am looking for," let's say you're like a project manager and you're kind of more entry level,
Mhm.
but you wanna learn maybe a new system or maybe just get advice on how people who've done this for years have, like, how they manage their workload. So you're reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for specific project managers in this type of environment who've had X amount of years of experience, and I'd love to see if they'd be willing to hop on, a 15, 30-minute phone call just to give me some advice. I'd love to, see if there's anything that I can learn to become a better project manager myself." And you'll be
Okay.
surprised at how many people do want to help and be that mentor, but they may
Yeah.
not see themselves as like a mentor in general, like, oh, hey, I'm a mentor,
Huh.
but they have so much knowledge, they're willing to share that with someone who's a little bit more junior and help guide them along the way.
That's an interesting perspective. I mean, thinking from their shoes, how they might not feel like they are a mentor or could be until someone reaches out. I think that's something I guess I don't usually think of like, oh, they don't think that, they're a
Yeah.
CEO or they're a
Uh-huh.
business leader. Like they probably know that they're a mentor to others really, but that's a
Hmm.
great point that you point out. Like we won't know until we try kind of thing with those individuals. So
Exactly, exactly.
now reaching out to someone like that, I would suspect that maybe a lot of them have people who reach out more times than others asking this kind of mentorship or advice from. Now, is there something that might help someone stand out when they're reaching out to these mentors to have a better chance of connecting?
Sure. I think it's always great if, again, if someone's not necessarily seeing themselves as a mentor, or maybe not as highly sought after,
Hmm.
you can always ask whoever suggested, "Hey, I've got someone who I work with who is an amazing product manager,
Hmm.
or sorry, project manager. So I'd love to introduce you." And if they don't offer the introduction, I would ask them if they would introduce you
Okay.
via email. Maybe that is via LinkedIn, however that is,
Hmm.
and just creating that initial connection and just kind of feeling it out and saying, "Hey, I this is what I'm looking for. So and so mentioned your name and spoke really great things about what you are doing. And these are the things I could use some help or guidance in. I was wondering if there was any flexibility for you to, hop on a phone call or
Yeah.
a video chat, because it's something that's really pretty simple to do for,
Right.
30 minutes to hop on a call. But I get that people get busy. So in the case of, you know, if they don't have availability, I would say to add a little note on there. If you aren't the right person to talk with,
Mm.
is there anyone else you would suggest? And that way you're kind of going down the line of saying, I was first referenced to this person, but they provided this other colleague of theirs. Maybe they're a step
Gotcha.
below them, but still really great and really eager and want to, provide that mentorship. So then they could introduce you to them.
That's a good point. I mean, because some people are just real busy, and if they're not able to, but you ask that question, they're gonna be like, "Oh, well, maybe there is someone else," or, "Hey, yeah, Bill over there, he would be a great mentor. I know he has some time." And so asking those questions, I think, is important. I think sometimes we forget that we can ask those questions, and we just kinda shut the
Mhm.
door on ourselves sometimes, with those opportunities. So just being aware of that, I think, is important, and opening up other opportunities that might be apart from the one we're seeking at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. When you're constructing that email or whatever that conversation is, if it is, a phone call or
Mhm.
something, I would write down specifics. If they aren't
Mm.
available, who is, and kind of give them opportunities to help you. I think sometimes we're scared to ask for that help or guidance,
Yeah,
but it's only going to hurt yourself if you never ask for it. But
true.
I definitely agree, providing some sort of alternative options is going to give you the best results. And if you don't provide that caveat of, hey, can you point me in the direction if you aren't the right person? um maybe they just don't ever reply to you, or they just say, sorry, I'm busy, and they may
Right.
not think to offer someone else unless you ask.
Okay. Now with that, if they were too busy, maybe you didn't ask or you did, but they didn't have anyone. Now, what's the, I guess, in your opinion, the procedure to follow up with that person that you really want mentored by them? Like, what would you suggest on following up with those individuals?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, give it a couple of business days if you haven't
Yeah.
heard from them to
Okay.
refresh. I know for me, I get so busy during my workday
Yeah.
that there's plenty of things that I have the best of intentions to respond to and I forget.
Mhm.
So don't ever, count yourself out or be like, oh my gosh, they just totally forgot about me or never read my email. Definitely take that action to follow up. Again, expanding your network is going to take some time and effort if you're doing it the right way.
Gotcha.
Uh, and it's important to invest that time into those relationships. So it's following up saying, hey, I wanted to check in and see if you had a chance to read my email. Again, so and so mentioned your name when I was talking about these things, and I'd love to find a moment to connect. And even if that's via email, if I could ask you a
Mm.
couple of questions via email, however you can connect. There's been women that I've helped via email instead of via video chat, just because of this time difference
Mm.
being across the world from some of these people. So I'm happy to help provide guidance through email, or maybe it's even something as simple as like a Facebook message. So just
Yeah,
finding
yeah.
out however you can get that additional information, giving them that opportunity. And then again, if they aren't responsive, don't count yourself out and then follow up again. Maybe it's in another few months. You're
Okay.
reviewing your network and saying, hey, checking in. Love what you're up to if you follow them on any sort of social media, so
Right.
that you can say, give them a little nod saying, I love what you're doing, love what's going on. Would love to check in and see if you have, 15-30 minutes of time to give me some advice.
Awesome. So I guess to flip it, what are some things that maybe you've experienced personally from someone, or that you just know from your knowledge in this field, is what do people do wrong, or that you've seen done wrong that kind of might hurt them in that situation?
Sure. I think where people go wrong is, again, not having the intention set beforehand.
Mm.
So if you're just going and you're expanding your network, you're connecting with all sorts of different people, but you don't really have a path that you want to go down, or goals set as to why you want to expand your network.
Hmm.
I don't think it hurts to randomly connect with people and see if there's any sort of mutual way that you could help each other out. But I think where people go wrong is trying to do so many things at once.
Gotcha.
So it's, I want to expand my network. That means I need to go on and add all these people on social media. And that means I need to sign up for some event and go meet all these people. And at that event, I'm going to try to like talk to every single person there. And, so it feels really overwhelming. And
Gotcha.
then maybe you don't do anything because it just feels so overwhelming in that moment. So I think that's where people go wrong, is not realizing how small actions every day can help really get you in that right direction. And working within your own network of the company that you're currently at
Hmm.
and expanding your relationships there. And then also branching out if you are looking for other opportunities outside of your current workplace, because networking inside of work is just as important as networking for additional opportunities. Is connecting with a couple of people, maybe they're former people that you've worked with,
Hmm.
maybe they're people who you just like their content, And it's sending like a quick message just saying, "Hey, loved what you sent or loved what you shared. How are things going?" Or like, "What are you most excited about, for the rest of this calendar year, or what are you excited going into the new year?" Just something to really get that conversation flowing. And it can be just a quick check in. It doesn't have to be some grand event, or it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be coffee where, it ends up taking a total of like over an hour of your time
Right.
traveling there, getting coffee. And that can be exhausting.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's great that the small things, like again, just kind of reiterating the quality over quantity, and just
Definitely.
doing those little things, letting people know like, hey, I liked what you said in that email, or I like that point you made in the meeting, or whatever it is. That starts that connection right there. That starts that branch in your network tree. And you never know where that can take you. You might not know who that person knows. And so, yeah, like the small steps, like you said, to get going, I
Yeah,
think's crucial.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had situations where I have I'm really big on relationship building, and I think
Mm,
that's why I've
good.
been so successful in my career. And I'll do that where I have, even if it's a reminder to go in and check in on a couple of people, and I'm just, pulling up my LinkedIn, for example, and saying hi to a couple of either old colleagues or connections that I see if they've shared some content that I liked. Instead of just liking their content, I do take it that next step further and sending a message, or I will shout them out in another thread,
Mm,
because I think that they're so great. Something like that, because people recognize that. And then in the instance where I was laid off from a position a couple years ago, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna work?"
all right.
It was very sudden, and I just started reaching out to my network. And because I had previously reached out and offered help, saying,
Mm,
"Is there anything I can help you with? Is there anything that you need?" and providing whatever services that I felt like I could offer in that moment. Then when I am needing something, I am going to them saying, "Hey, now I need some assistance. I was wondering if you could help point me in the right direction of what I'm looking for." And it's again that give and take where, because I was so much like service focused in the
mhm.
beginning, that when I need help, people are jumping to provide me referrals and all sorts of different help.
That's awesome. That's just a great testament to like how to go about doing it right, and remembering that we aren't in this alone. Like sometimes
Exactly.
it might feel that way, but you got to remember there's always people there if you're being intentional about keeping those relationships. Um, like you said, it might not be going to grab coffee or going to a movie or hanging out or whatever it is. It's just
Yeah.
letting them know you're there and that you're there for them, and then in turn that ends up helping us as well when the time comes where we need it. So yeah, that's another
Exactly.
great point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that has it's kind of a little bit off, not real off topic, but I didn't write it down, so you might not know. I'm gonna go off the script a little bit.
Perfect.
Ha, have you ever had a moment where you've been reaching out to maybe bigger influencers or someone maybe higher up, quote unquote, in your network, and they actually responded and you made that connection, like a big win for you in your network? Have you had those kind of moments that you're proud of?
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had some big wins. I've found some really great mentors through my network. And when I've been provided a name of a person,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely reaching out and putting myself out there, again, being specific as we've talked about
Yeah.
just recently, following the same advice and reaching out to these people and following up and not being afraid to, send a follow up here and there. Again, it comes with a lot of self awareness, which I
Mm,
focus on with my clients as well. Is, you don't want to be overbearing and
right.
show up in their inbox,
Yeah.
daily by any
Yeah.
means. But just finding that right balance of reaching out to the mentors. And yeah, I've had a couple of really great mentors who are in the field of where I've been in different leadership positions for more of call centers that I've been doing over the last 7 years. And just getting like picking their brain as far
Mm,
as, when I was in a place where I didn't know if I wanted to move into a higher role, because that
mm,
meant I was going to not be as focused on like my team and customers. It was going to be more like planning for like quarterly goals and more like data driven
Gotcha.
goals. And I didn't know if I wanted that. So I reached out to a couple of different mentors, again, through referrals of people who I was really close with, saying, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I don't really know who's the right person, but
Yeah.
then with their guidance and kind of just brainstorming with them, they gave me names of people to reach out to. And it's been so helpful to give me clarity and really realize that the coaching route is where I needed to go. So that has definitely led me to where I'm at today.
That's so cool. Just being able to look back on where you're at now and seeing the steps that got you here and who helped you and how those all fell in place. Just it's just neat to look at in people's stories and everything, in our own especially. Now, if
Definitely.
you could reach out to any three people, who would the top three people you love to be networked to? Who would they be? And why, I
Oh,
guess, maybe. Yeah, I've thrown this one in there too, mixing it up. So,
top three people?
yeah, that you
Oh, man.
follow, maybe that are like really, really big names that would be like you'd be over the moon if they responded or connected with you and you made that connection and started working it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'd probably say one of the books that I really liked
Uh-huh.
is by an author named John Gordon.
Okay.
He wrote a book called The Carpenter.
Okay.
That one's really cool. I love that it talks about loving, serving, and caring for your team, because so many people think of leadership in the sense of more like micromanaging, or how can I, like in a selfish point of view, like I want to promote, I want more, I want
Hmm.
this. And that book really focused so much on really just the basics of loving and serving and caring for your team. So that one, I've listened to that one on Audible so many times on repeat, because it's just a fun little story. I mean, it's like a couple hours long.
That's cool.
So I really like that. So if I could connect with him, that'd be cool. Probably the same, like you mentioned earlier, Patrick Lencioni. I
Yeah.
love his books. Love the way that he approaches leadership as well. Um, Man, a third person?
Making it tough. You got to get that third one in there.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea. There's a ton of random people that I
Oh,
follow
I understand.
on LinkedIn, but I don't know if I could come up with a third off the top of my head.
What about a movie star? Maybe that kind of has a good business mindset that you admire. I don't know, just random.
Probably off the top of my head, I love Will Smith,
Okay.
and anything that I've seen that he shares is very much like the same kind of like core values that I have, as far
Yep.
as, again, like serving other people and coming from a place where it's like accepting others for their differences.
Mm,
I think he is really great on that. And like his marriage with him and his wife is just
yep.
so beautiful. And I love
Yeah.
that they talk about, how both parties need to make effort and be individuals and be strong together. Like, I
Mm,
just love that mentality as well.
I agree. I think Will would be awesome. So Will, I mean, when you
Yes.
listen to this, because I know you're going to one day, Nichole and I, we'd like to connect. So
Yes,
that's awesome.
please.
So a couple questions are off topic again, but I think
Sure.
it's just cool to ask, just get to know people and kind of see their response to them. If you could, if there could be one fictional character come to life, that you choose, who would that be, and why would you choose them?
Sure. Okay. So this one is a tough one too. When I was thinking about it,
Yeah.
honestly, the name that, like, the character that kept coming to mind is Dory from Finding
Okay.
Nemo, mainly because obviously I love Ellen
Oh
DeGeneres
yeah.
that plays her,
Yep.
and everything that she's about, being
Mm-hmm.
kind, about, like I mentioned a million times on this, is like
Right.
the relationship aspect of building a really firm network. But I love Dory because part of it is that she has her short term memory loss. So she doesn't really have a
Right.
choice to start off like with a fresh, clean slate with people, but I've been prejudged so many
Mm,
times where I've been told I got leadership positions because I'm an attractive female or different things like that where it didn't feel right. And so I felt like I've always had to work harder to
mm,
prove myself that I'm not, that I'm more than just a pretty face. And I just love her because she's so optimistic, she's happy, and it's just contagious, and I love surrounding myself with people who are optimistic and, looking at the bright side of things. So I would say, probably Dory, she's,
yeah,
like, the sweetest.
that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, just keep swimming.
Yeah.
That's good. And then the second one, if what can you do or what can we do, whichever, um, to leave a positive mark on the world?
Yeah, I love this because it doesn't take a lot. People think
Mm,
of these grand gestures of needing to go serve in third world countries to be able to make a difference. And one of my mentors, his name is Robert Buckley. He is always talking about believing the best in people,
hmm,
and I've definitely taken that on myself. Is believing the best in people, again, starting out with a fresh, clean slate with people instead of coming in with any prejudgments, I think is the best thing. And again, finding out ways to serve those around you is always going to leave you feeling better. And in situations where I have felt like I've served so much or given so much to a company, for example, and maybe I didn't get that promotion or the bonus or what exactly I was looking for, but I've always left companies with my head held high because I've always tried to provide service and giving my best and not leaving anything on the table.
that's awesome. Well, Nichole, again, I appreciate you being on the show today and answering some questions and just helping us learn a little bit more about how to build better networks and how to go about it the right way. And so, thank you again so much for all your answers today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris,
No
for
problem.
having me. I'm
No
excited
problem.
to listen to more of your podcast
Yeah,
episodes.
I appreciate it.